Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another MLB trade proposal video. This is a good one. I'm super excited about it because we get to talk about seven-time All-Star Chris Sale. And some of you probably haven't heard his name in years, and that's because he's had problems in the minors. He's been injured. He had to be shut down. I mean, like, everything that could have gone wrong with Chris Sale has gone wrong in the last 3 or so years. So now they owe him a lot of money. And are they going to pay him? That's basically the question. Teams are looking at it, okay? Teams are looking at Chris Sale, and I'm here to help you figure out if this is a good trade or not. There is no specific team in mind, but I'm going to give you 3 that I think make the most sense and that have been reported on just a little bit in the early stages of this trade rumor. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Chris Sale, as I mentioned, has been so good for so long. He was with the White Sox back in 2010 through 2016. Then he headed over to the Boston Red Sox. He helped them win a World Series. Again, like I said, he was a 7-time All-Star. He led the league in various categories every single year during those times. He's been so good, right? And then in 2019, he fell off. He fell off the planet. He started 25 games, went 6-11 with a 4.4 ERA. I mean, the dude was not himself. He had a 147 innings pitched, 218 strikeouts, and an ERA plus of 110. So still above average, and he's been above average every single year, actually, that he has been in the league. It's just, how dominant has he been? That was his worst year by far, at a 110, which is crazy, especially coming off the 2018 season. He was a 209 ERA plus, a FIP under 2. I mean, the dude was insane in 2018, even then. Now he's gotten a little older. He's had those problems. He had Tommy John in 2020. He had to be shut down again. He's had problems in the minors, even. So, really, his last 2 seasons were kind of washes. They were not good at all. He went 5-1 in 2021 with a 3.16 ERA, but only threw 42 innings. He did have a ERA plus of 149, but again, that's a small sample size. And then in 2022, he only went 2 starts, and honestly, I don't even remember them, but had a 3.18 ERA in those 2 starts, went 0-1, and 5.2 innings pitched. Like, that's not great. He only faced 25 batters before. I can't remember if he was shut down or if he got injured again, but regardless, he has been a totally different person in the last 3 years. So as I mentioned, the Red Sox owe him a lot of money. They owe him $27.5 million over the next 2 seasons. And Steven Matz as well. I don't necessarily think that he would be thrown into this trade, but they also owe him $35 million over the next 3 years. The Red Sox are so bad, right? They are the bottom of the AL East already. Now you owe these guys a lot of money. What are you going to do, right? The logical thing would be to trade him. And this is why, right? You got what you wanted out of him. You got a World Series ring out of him, and he's still been, good. In 2019, he wasn't your ace, but he didn't screw you. And in 2017, he had one of the best seasons he's ever had. So, like, even outside of the World Series, he's been a productive player. And his time has kind of run out, I would say, especially with the injuries. So now your options are to keep him and maybe struggle with him through injury or through whatever. He's 33, by the way. He'll be 34 next year. Struggle with a guy who's a little bit past his prime and who has been injury prone now. Or you could trade him and see if another team obviously get a little bit for him since he's still Chris Sale, and we'll talk about that. But you get something for him. Maybe not a ton, but you get something for him and you shed that payroll. Like, those are the 2 biggest things that I think need to be the top of this conversation. Whether or not you think Chris Sale himself should be traded, from a business perspective for the Red Sox, they need to start over. And by shedding that payroll, shedding Matt's payroll as well, and then hopefully grabbing, 2 or 3 prospects, like, of some sort, maybe you can work on them. You get something out of it, and you let Chris Sale go. You got a World Series ring out of it. So, let's talk about this. Like I said, I have 3 teams that I think are in the conversation. First, you have the contenders, right? You need him to go to a contending team because he's not going to go to like a Detroit. Who's another bad team? The A's. They are not going to pay him. Like, he needs to go to a team that can justify paying the payroll in a hope that he is good enough to compete and be on the team and help out the team. But he can't go to a team like the Yankees or probably the Padres, where they already have a very good pitching staff, and also they're high on payroll. The Mets is another example, high on payroll, very good pitching staff, and like he would be there like 5, right? He needs to go to a team that they can use him at the 2 or the 3. Maybe not their number 1, but they use him at the 2 or the 3, and if he gets hurt, if he's not as good, they can move him down in the rotation. Ultimately, maybe cut him. Like, it's not the the worst liability in the world, right? So the 3 teams that I have that are all contenders, I think, that really fit the bill well are 1, the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have actually been reported on a little bit by MSN here, so I'll read that. That's the team we'll cover first. The second team and the third team are the teams, in my opinion, that I think could use him. 1 is the Orioles. We just talked about Corbin Burnes the other day, maybe being their ace, but you also do have a good little rotation with them. And I think Chris Sale could fit into that rotation well, especially since, sorry, Yak's talking to me again, since they aren't a contending team, but they're getting there, and they don't have that guy. Chris Sale could be that guy. And then finally, we are talking about the Guardians, and that'll be a fun one here at the end. So, first, let's talk about the Cardinals quickly. The Cardinals, they have been in talks with the Cardinals about trading for Chris Sale. Of course, Wainwright is now coming back, but he's on a 1-year deal. Pujols and Yadier Molina are gone, so you do have some guys there, pitching staff that are there, and you've got a Wainwright who is older and probably going to retire next year, right? This would be a great addition to add to that, to learn from them, teach them some things, of course, being a 34-year-old, and also just adding and bolstering that rotation a little bit, because they need another guy, right? They need another guy. Wainwright cannot be their only offense, or their only dominant pitching person. I think Fowlery is there too, right? And who's the guy from the Yankees? Let me look this up. I didn't Google it. Pitching rotation. Cardinals pitching rotation. You have Wainwright. Montgomery is the guy who I was thinking of. Fowlery, like, you've got guys, right? Why not add Chris Sale into that addition? And also, it says that in this report from MSN, Gordon Gracefo, I'm not exactly sure if I said that right, is the 79th ranked prospect in the MLB. He is in the conversation with Chris Sale, so I'm not sure if it would be 1-for-1. I'm not sure if there would be a couple of more guys in that trade, but Chris Sale for the 79th prospect in the MLB, maybe throw in another 1 or 2 guys. That is a trade that it looks like the Red Sox might actually pursue, but also I don't think you're giving up too much, obviously, if you're the Cardinals, but same with the Red Sox. You're getting in a guy who can be talented, as well as shed that salary and start over. It's not the greatest thing in the world, right? It's not the greatest trade in the world, but you're getting a good young piece. So the Cardinals have actually been reported on. That would be a really interesting thought. Let me know what you guys think about that as well. But let's talk about the last 2 teams really quickly. Like I said with the Orioles have nobody that is their ace, and I don't think Chris Sale needs to be their ace, but if he comes in with Means and I think Gibson, like, he would fit in that rotation well. It's in the division. I don't know if they would necessarily do that, but the Orioles are a contender, right? They are right on that brink, and that's what we talked about in the Corbin Burnes video yesterday, is that he is right there. They are right there. If they can make a push this year, maybe at the deadline, they can add a couple more pieces, but if they get a good Chris Sale, who is actually good and doesn't get hurt and, is a 3 or 4 guy, that could be somebody that the Orioles look at, right? I mean, yeah, they take on that salary, but if they get a good Chris Sale out of it, they have the farm to give up a little bit if they want. They have the room in their rotation. They have the room in cap space to spend a little money. it kind of makes sense for the Orioles if Boston is willing to do it. But again, you need a healthy Chris Sale. Are they going to get that? That's the give and take that you get. And again, you're probably giving up 1 or 2 decent prospects if the Orioles wanted to do that on Chris Sale, or rather go out and get somebody else like a Corbin Burns. Lastly, the team that I want to talk about the most quickly is the Guardians. I think this is just a fun one. The Guardians have a great rotation already. I had it pulled up, but obviously this would just be an addition to that. A team that already made the playoffs. They are there. They are knocking on the door. They can surprise a lot of guys. You'll get a Chris Sale out there. Pair him with Bieber. You pair him with Quantrill and McKenzie, who is growing. That could be a huge, huge mentorship and a way to really boost that team. And again, if Chris Sale doesn't pan out, okay, you still have your great group of guys, and maybe he mentors them a little bit. And if he does pan out, if he's great, obviously you have a number 2 guy out of Bieber, or with Bieber. If he becomes a 4 or 5 guy, he's another guy to add to that rotation and maybe bring him into that playoff spot, pitch a couple of innings here and there. And he's a guy that you don't have to rely on the bullpen for. And then finally, payroll-wise, Cleveland can spend some money. They don't, ever. And which is good because I'm a Twins fan, but like, they don't have a ton of money that they've ever really invested in anybody. I'm not saying that Chris Sale is the end-all be-all, but also if you throw $27 million at him for 2 years, take him for 2 years. If he works out, great. If he doesn't, again, you trade him at the deadline, you get rid of him, so what? You're not out a ton if you're Cleveland, right? Because they don't make a ton of moves anyway. I really think that Cleveland makes a lot of sense. Cleveland has got some guys they could probably trade as well. I think it makes sense. That's my guess. That's the one I would like to see the most. Plus, I think it'd be cooler to see Chris Sale in the division. I don't know. That's just my thought. Obviously, I would still want the Twins to win, but that's just my thought. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Get us to 4,000 by the end of the year. We're getting there. Close. But I hope you guys do enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.